Today's lesson is going to be over the areas of trapezoids, triangles, rhombi, and kites. So first up, we're going to have our trapezoid, and I just noticed I don't even have the trapezoid formula up here. So that is going to be the area is equal to 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times the height. Okay, so base 1, base 2 divided by 2. This whole part right here, we kind of had to skip that lesson because of the snow, but this part is the mid-segment formula. Mid-segment. And that means I'm finding literally the middle part of the trapezoid. Okay, so it's the mid-segment. So that's why we're taking the average of the two bases and halving them. That gives us the mid-segment right at the midpoint of both sides and connecting. And then, of course, we have the height. Okay, that is related to the kind of the parallelogram part. So we have area is equal to 1/2. Base 1, I'm going to use the top as 6. Base 2, I'm going to use the bottom as 8. And then we have the height, which is 5, and that's going to be the distance between the two bases. Okay, it's going to be an altitude. It's going to be perpendicular to the opposite base. Okay, then we just put it in your calculator or simplify it out. We have to do parentheses first, so that's going to be 14 times 5. I'm going to go ahead and do half of 14. That equals 7. And 7 times 5 is equal to 35, and that's going to be units squared because we are dealing with area. Okay, so the area for this trapezoid is 35 units squared. Okay, so it looks like we need to find the base in the green trapezoid here, and it tells us the area is 12. So if I'm still using this same formula, I know my area is 12. That's going to equal 1/2 of base 1. Again, I'm going to use the top, plus base 2, which is x, and then I have a height of 8. Okay, well, since all of this is multiplied together, I'm going to take half of 8. That way it'll get rid of my fraction, and I get the 1 plus x times 4, and I can put it at the front as well. Since it's multiplied by 4, I'm going to divide by 4 on both sides. That's going to give me 3 is equal to 1 plus x. And then I just solve for x by subtracting the 1. So the other base is equal to 2. So this base is equal to 2. So when I add them together, times the height and divide it by 2, I get 12. So you may have to work backwards on some of these as well. Okay, next we have our triangles. So area for a triangle is 1/2 base times height. And again, this is similar to the trapezoid because this piece, 1/2 base, that is also the mid-segment formula for a triangle. Okay, so we are taking the midpoint of each side, and that would be the mid-segment. It goes right across. Okay, so 1/2 base times height. In this one, we have the area is equal to 1/2. My base is 8 because it's the side of the triangle. And the height, again, is the altitude from the vertex perpendicular to the base. So that's going to be 4. And I can multiply it. We have that commutative property and the associative property that we can switch them around and multiply in any order. So I'm going to do half of 8, which is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. So my area is going to be 16 units squared. Okay, I could multiply 8 times 4 first. I get 32. 32 divided by 2 is 16. I could do half of 4. That gives me 2, and 8 times 2 is 16. So that commutative and associative property come in handy here. Then you might have to work backwards. So here we're finding the height. So they already told me my area is 9 because it says 8 equals 9 equals 1/2 of 6, which is my base, times my height. I'm going to go ahead and multiply half of 6. That's going to give me 3 times h. And then I just divide by 3. So 3 is equal to my height. That's how tall the triangle is. It's 3. Okay, so working backwards, we just plug in our numbers and we do the opposite. So if we had to multiply to get the area, we have to divide to get the piece, the height. Okay, rhombus and kite. The area of both is the same. It's going to be diagonal 1 times diagonal 2. Diagonal 1 times diagonal 2. Okay, so we know our properties of rhombi because we know that the diagonals intersect. They bisect each other, so they split each other in half, and they form that 90-degree angle. So here for our area, we have the diagonal. I have 6 over here and 6 over here, so that's going to make a diagonal of 12. And then I have 8 and 8, so that makes the whole diagonal 16. Oh, I forgot a formula. It's half. 1/2 diagonal 1 times diagonal 2. So you put that half in there. Okay, then I'm going to multiply it out. I see, I'm going to do half of 12. That gives me 6 times 16, and that's going to equal, see, 36. Carry my 3. That's going to give me 96 units squared. So my area is 96 units squared. Sorry, I forgot the half at the beginning, but it is 1/2 diagonal 1 times diagonal 2. Same thing for the kite. It's going to be diagonal 1 times diagonal 2, and take half of that. Okay, so we do have enough information here. For a kite, we do know that the shorter diagonal is bisected. It is split in half by the other diagonal. It's the only one that's bisected, so I do know this piece is 4. That makes my area equal to 1/2 diagonal 1, so that's going to be 8, times diagonal 2, which is going to be 11. Now, since the half and the 8 are even, I'm going to go ahead and multiply those two together. That's going to give me 4 times 11, and then 4 times 11 is 44. So my kite is 44 units squared. So we may not have gotten to that property, but yes, this shorter diagonal is bisected by the other diagonal. Obviously, it's not reversed. They don't bisect each other like the rhombus, but they do split each other. You may also have to use Pythagorean theorem. So this is a 3, 4, and this is a 5 triangle. So they may not give you one of these pieces, and they may give you the side of the kite, and you'd have to use Pythagorean theorem to find a missing side. So keep that in mind as well. Okay, so this ends our lesson on trapezoids, triangles, rhombus, and kite areas. Now it's your turn to practice.